Hello everyone and welcome back to day 3 of the 12 days of Xbox Nation. My name is Fletcher and this is the video where I will be covering the upcoming Xbox and Game Pass games coming our way over the next week and to really see if any of them are worth your time and or money. This will be the last of this sort of video until next year, so these are all the games now coming from the 15th of December up until the new year. Of course it is much quieter than usual, but we still have quite a few releases coming our way, including a couple of former PlayStation exclusives. Remember as well though that I will be giving a game away every single day in the run up to Christmas. All you need to do is just comment below and you're automatically entered. I do want to know what your top 5 games are for this year, as I will be making a video on it, so do let me know down below. Congratulations to yesterday's winner, just hit me up over on our awesome Discord server and I'll get that game right over to you as soon as possible. With that though, let's dive right into the games coming our way for the end of this year. First up, I actually covered Tainted Grail: The Fall of Avalon back on its release date now a few months back, and I was actually incredibly impressed as it was the next sort of Skyrim that I always wanted. The dark tones, the incredible quests and fantastic worlds were something I never really expected, especially from a smaller indie team. Well, in some great news and landing onto Xbox as of today is their first huge DLC, and it's called Sanctuary of Sarras, and it's very expansive in terms of the content which is going to be included. This one will start you in Connaught though, so just after Act 2, and it should actually scale well to your level of progression. The devs have also stated to me that this seems like an entirely new act completely, with 10 to 15 hours of gameplay, a new storyline and multiple side quests. Obviously it will come with a lot of new content as well, with the likes of 4 epic bosses, 12 unique regular enemies, over 100 pieces of equipment including armor, melee weapons, bows and so much more. Again, this one seems pretty great and it will be available on your Xbox consoles right now. As I mentioned a bit earlier on in this video, we did have a couple of PS5 console exclusives which will be jumping over to Xbox this week, which is quite great to see. The first of those coming on the 16th though is a Five Nights at Freddy's game. Specifically, it's called Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic, and it will be coming to Xbox on Tuesday, having first released on PS5 and PC back in June of this year. This one is actually being developed by the team behind a whole bunch of other Five Nights at Freddy's titles, including Security Breach. I have delved a little bit deeper on this one, and it does seem like the Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic has a very positive rating over on Steam at the moment, and some pretty great reviews over on Metacritic as well. A lot of reviews have stated that although this one is not the most challenging in terms of its gameplay, it's still quite fun and delves way deeper into a sort of spooky vibe. Still, if this one does interest you, it will come out for the Xbox Series consoles, as I mentioned, this Tuesday. I can never really keep up with ARK these days, but if you're a fan of this franchise and still somehow playing it, then no doubt you will be excited for the huge new DLC which is landing this week. There seems to be a wide range of content as well, including a dragon called Uralax, and this is a telekinetic serpentine celestial dragon that was created to challenge traditional taming mechanics. ARK Lost Odyssey is the first major canonical update for ARK Survival Ascended and acts as a sort of narrative bridge between Extinction and the upcoming ARK 2. Uralax, as mentioned, is just one of the many creatures that will be heading to your way into this expansion. Lost Colony though will place you and many survivors inside a massive occupied city where they have to survive against a multitude of different threats. It seems pretty decent from what all the information they've actually provided, but again, I'm not an ARK fan, so I would be keen to hear your thoughts on this one in the comments below. Now, put this next game on your radar. Vambrace Dungeon Monarch is a really interesting indie that came across my desk the other day, and as you may know, I do love highlighting some of the very interesting and lesser known indies here on the channel from time to time. It's actually a really unique game that combines the likes of deck building, dungeon defense and tactical gameplay, and then sets it in this kind of lovely hand-drawn art style. It is an auto-battler at heart, as you can probably see on screen now, but then you have to really utilize your own strategic deck of cards to unleash devastating magic spells and then summon formidable combat units onto the battlefield. Honestly, I will say to you, I play a ton of deck builders, card battlers and even auto-battler games, and for me this game has a ton of potential and is definitely worth putting on your wishlist for this week. I'm going to be keeping a very close eye on Splitgate this week, as the release of Splitgate 2 is finally upon us. You already probably know by now, especially because the media absolutely berated it, but Splitgate 2 had a very rough launch, and the dev team took the game actually back into a beta state as of May of this year. Well, finally, after a long and arduous journey, they are finally releasing the game on the 17th, and it's now called Splitgate Arena Reloaded. This is still the same game, but the devs has essentially massively overhauled everything to make it feel more in line with Splitgate 1 in terms of the visual quality, the way that it plays, and so much more. Like I said, I've been keeping an eye on this one simply because they are promising a lot of new content, as well as bringing in a better progression system and not flooding it with over-the-priced cosmetics, which is so finally lovely to see. I really do have some high hopes for the devs here, but it's definitely looking like an uphill battle for 1047 Games. A heavy metal horror game that was made by a former Skyrim and Fallout developer may sound absolutely batshit insane, but hey, you might need to check it out for this week. The Axis Unseen is quite an unknown indie project that landed on the PC back in 2024, but upon looking into this one a little bit more myself, it's been fairly well received across the board from the little reviews it's had so far. You essentially play as a lone hunter in a world inhabited by monsters from all manner of ancient folklore. At first, your goal will be unclear, and all you know is that you need to explore and survive in order to achieve it. Everything that lives and or breathes in this world though will kill you, but with your trusty bow and range of powers bestowed upon you by forces unknown, you might just have what it takes to fight back against them. Honestly, the creatures and the monsters in this one look pretty freaky, and again, it's one of those games that just came out of nowhere and needs way more spotlights. I am beyond bloody hyped for the new DLC for Avatar Frontiers and Pandora, and From the Ashes looked absolutely insane. This new DLC though will arrive this Friday on the 19th of December, which is actually the same day on which James Cameron's Avatar Fire and Ash will finally arrive within the cinemas. Presumably, it will once again sell absolutely shed loads of tickets, and will no doubt mean the game will see a massive spike in popularity, like we saw with Fallout with the Fallout TV show, etc. From the Ashes looks to take place a few weeks after the events of Fire and Ash, and around 6 months after the events of Frontiers and Pandora and its existing story packs. It will also be set in a brand new ravaged and occupied version of the Kinglor Forest, and it will also give you a new sub-region to explore in the form of the Ravines. It looks great from the early gameplay I've seen, and I will try and cover it just before its launch date. Back in August of 2023, horror adventure game named Fort Solis made its debut on both PlayStation 5 and PC as an ambitious UE5 title starring voice actors Roger Clark and Troy Baker, but it unfortunately did release to some pretty lukewarm reviews at the time, with an average Metacritic score of just 60. Now we're finally getting the Xbox Series version on the 19th of December, and even though the reviews might not be that amazing for it, I am definitely intrigued by what I'm seeing here. The visuals look utterly stunning, the story seems pretty interesting at the very least, and it seems there's a wide range of different impressions about it overall. To give you an idea of this one though, it basically puts you in the shoes of an engineer named Jack Leary, who then travels to a mining base on Mars to search for a missing crew. The story is told across 4 chapters, and the narrative is absolutely the main focus here, as many do call it a walking simulator. This is one that I'm incredibly keen to check out, and if the rumours are right, it should land between that sort of $20 to $25 mark. In case you did miss it, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 has released their thank you update after winning the Game of the Year at the Game Awards. This free update adds a ton of new content featuring a new zone, more music, challenging boss battles, a photo mode, and so much more. It is said that you'll probably need to progress fairly far into the game though, and unlock one of SKA's abilities to reach that new zone. The largest inclusion here though is what they're calling a brand new level named Verso's Drafts, featuring new environments to explore, battles to fight, and plenty of surprises for us to discover. The biome, from what I've seen so far, has a very sort of childlike Wonderland style aesthetic inspired by Verso's childhood, but you'll see some more cutscenes that elaborate on this in the updates. It is pretty substantial as a free update from what I've heard so far, and just shows why many of us really love Sandfall Interactive. This next game went heavily under the radar following its release on Xbox as of last week, but there's an interesting story that's actually behind it. Milano's Odd Job Collection is the English version of a PS1 game that was released exclusively in Japan back in 1999, and it just so happens to be making its Xbox debut in the process as well. The fan translators at Hilltop Works have teamed up with publisher Xseed Games to bring Milano's Odd Job Collection to a new audience here in 2025, and it does feature English text and voiceovers, along with improved load time, save states, and even a rewind feature. It is only listed for £12.80 here in the UK and $15 over in the US for the Xbox Series consoles, and is available to you right now. I was really surprised that this again wasn't picked up by many outlets out there, and even I didn't even know it was releasing, because I didn't even mention it in my usual coverage within these videos. Still, it looks pretty interesting, and I might have to keep my eye on this one, as it's always great seeing loads of these sort of exclusive previous games from Japan finally making their way over to Xbox. Even though Xbox Game Pass has finally wrapped up all the releases now for 2025, one game did actually land into the service towards the latter part of last week, and it wasn't even announced by Xbox themselves. Ultimate Sheep Raccoon is now available for you to play right now if you have an Ultimate and PC Game Pass tier, and it seems like a great addition, especially when the holiday season usually means some fun couch co-op sessions with your friends or family. This newer game allows up to 8 players, both online and in local co-op, to tackle obstacle courses, but kicks the action up a notch by centering everything around ground bike racing. You will also contribute traps and obstacles to race courses in an attempt to trip up the other players and ultimately take the gold medal. It looks pretty great, and so far many are actually loving this, so it's definitely worth playing this holiday season. Another little Xbox Game Pass edition is Ubisoft's perpetually popular online fighting game called Brawlhalla, and is now giving subscribers at least 2 major reasons to check out this free-to-play game on the service. Alongside a perk that's designed to give players new greater access to the game's roster of characters, Game Pass subscribers can now also unlock Brawlhalla achievements while streaming the game via Xbox Cloud Gaming. As an extra benefit, of course, Brawlhalla will also be receiving a brand new Xbox Game Pass perk for December, and that unlocks 50 legends, aka playable fighters, for all of us subscribers. That does include PC Game Pass subscribers as well, which is good news, seeing as that tier doesn't actually offer any cloud gaming benefits. It's a pretty weird one to see added, but then again, I'm not really going to complain, especially when it comes to nice little bonuses, especially now that a subscription is definitely a higher cost these days. So that wraps up the games for the remainder of 2025, and oh boy, what a year it's been. Again, I would love to hear your top 5 games of 2025 down below, and remember that comment also enters for a chance to win a free Xbox game. Do make sure to subscribe as well so you don't miss out on these videos on the run up to Christmas, and for more Xbox content on a daily basis, especially as 2026 is going to be one of the biggest years yet, especially for Xbox as a brand. Whilst you're here though, and if you do want to check out my previous video as of yesterday, I actually covered 15 huge new survival games coming to Xbox and Xbox Game Pass within the next year, and there's a lot of games to get really excited about.